Okay, so we're looking at the candidate tournament where Magnus Carlsen won and got to play Anand in the World Championship match when he got World Champion. And Carlsen has been playing very good here. He has 4 wins, and I think the rest probably draws. Maybe some more wins that wasn't so noteworthy, so I didn't include them. And we are now at round 12. There's only 3 more rounds to go, and Carlsen has a 1-point lead against everyone else, and Kramnik is the main competitor, 1 point. I don't know exactly, but it's probably a little bit behind before this round. So Magnus is playing a player who will have a great impact on the ending of this tournament, and that is Vassily Ivanchuk from Ukraine. So true to his style, Magnus tries to play a nice game here against Ivanchuk, and the reason why people sometimes do this move order is that they want to avoid a Sveshnikov. The Sveshnikov is of course this line, as I say like every other video. This is something that white should avoid because it's very theoretical. So one way to avoid it is to play like this. The disadvantage is that black can play like that, and it becomes a closed center, which maybe not everyone wants to do. The alternative for black would do something like e6 or d6. Because you can't do knight f6 for e5, of course. So Ivanchuk decides to do e6 here, and then Magnus does this one, and Ivanchuk plays a system known as the Taimanov variation, which is a very well-known system, and Magnus does what they recommended setup here, and we will have a very exciting game because Magnus goes for this, which is the recommended way to play to get this kind of an attack. And the reason why black plays like this and not plays like Scheveningen setup like this is because he wants to have the chance to put the bishop here, put pressure here. That's the whole key of the Taimanov variation, that you keep the pawn on d6. Maybe sometimes you also play b6, b5, bishop e7 before that. So he does that, and now of course knight e4 is threatening, so you have to do f3. And here he makes an interesting move, knight e7, preparing to play d5. I think there are many different theory lines here. I'm not gonna go into the detail, but I don't think knight e7 is the most common. I think maybe b5 or here or castle or knight here and here. All of these lines are probably more common, would be my guess. But he decides to go here, and Magnus decides to retreat, which is a little bit weird. It wasn't really necessary, but he must have some kind of plan if he does that. And the plan is that he does e5. So the question is like, why can't black take this then? Okay, because of here. Okay, and the queen is in big trouble here. The queen is actually trapped here, so that's interesting. It's getting trapped here on the king side. So Ivanchuk saw that, of course, so he plays like that, and f4. And now we get into a position that looks a little bit like a French defense. So you can see how the computer wants to play this endgame here. Doesn't care about the weakened pawns, wants to play this. He can always play c4 and trade. Want to play this endgame with the bishops. Magnus does something else. Yeah, now he tries to do that, but it's a little bit difference now. Yeah, the big difference is not no. He just got a verse variation, because here he has his strong bishop left, and black has this knight. So this is obviously 0.03 here for white, and obviously with these pieces traded, it's of course an equal game here, 0-0, because the bishop was white's only advantage in the position. So he does a5, a move that the computer doesn't like because he can check, but he didn't do that. This is also typical French maneuver that you like. It's obviously black wants to play here and trade the bishop, so you check, and he has to go here, and then he can no longer trade the bishop. So that would have been more precise by Magnus, but instead he played like that, and black got a chance to try to trade the bishops here when he wants. Yeah, and it's a little bit unfortunate here for white, because if he would take with a pawn, then he still gets doubled pawns like this, but apparently computer thinks this is still equal, so it would have been fine to play like that. But yeah, this is also fine. Looks like quite an equal endgame still. It's it's quite an equal position here, I think. But as we see here, Ivanchuk is winning, so it will be interesting, because it's not often that Magnus loses such an equal endgame, because he's the best endgame player of all time, of course. So it's a bit weird that he loses this. My only explanation, because he plays strange in the final game, also in round 14. So I guess he might have become nervous here that he's qualifying for the World Championship, and he's playing worse than usual these last games here. That could be my only psychological explanation here. But also Ivanchuk is starting to play quite a nice endgame here, and this typically shows that you can never relax in chess. I also lost like many positions here. I thought like it's just easy draw, and then your opponent wins somehow. For example, here queen king b3 doesn't look right to just retreat with the king like that. Black can get up a bit, but let's see what happens. Yeah, black could activate his king here for free, and that pawn is a little bit in trouble. So here actually Ivanchuk avoids the draw. He thinks it's better, but the computer doesn't think so. But that's also interesting, like a player 100 pounds lower rated, like in an equal position, declines the draw. That's also interesting, actually, I think. But now it has gone bad for Magnus, and e5 looks lost now. Yeah, so now he lost that pawn. I think part of the I don't know, I just didn't like that he retreated with his active king there, but maybe he had to. So now black is a pawn up. It's still some drawing chances for white though. Yeah, and this c4 was also unfortunate, because that pawn is just being very weak, and it's going to get lost soon here, probably. Okay, but here Ivanchuk does a big mistake. Let's just see what the computer says here. It seems that after this move, e5, white could draw the game. Better would have been to play here. And if it takes, it's check here. And apparently this move. And if white defends, then black can just take this 2 with the king and win with his queenside pawns. And yeah, if it doesn't do that, then yeah, it's just pretty bad here. Something like this could happen. But it's still complicated. Look here, only one move wins for black. For some reason this does not win. Because yeah, you can go here and then take it, and this. Yeah, because you can also take the pawn then. So you have to go exactly here. Have to check. Okay, yeah, so it's so let's see why e5 is bad. So e5 is bad because h4, and now the position is drawn again. But it requires correct play here for white. Yeah, I have a weakness for this kind of pawn. Rook end games, I think they're pretty interesting. Probably the most interesting. Rook end games are definitely the most interesting of all the end games, and like chess variants, because it's just such a complicated stuff. So it's still a draw here apparently. Because he has a unknown passer now. But here Magnus makes the decisive mistake here. 2 moves drawn. So let's look at this one maybe. Yeah, and when black tries to take it, white can collect the pawns, and yeah, obviously this is with two edge pawns you can't win, of course. Okay, and what about this? You can do like that, and you can't take because you got a queen. Okay, so it was quite a simple way to draw here actually for Magnus. So, but this didn't work. And now it's over. It's over. It's all over. So yeah, this is obviously winning because he has 2 pawns now. But it's not so easy. So let's see how Ivanchuk did it. Okay, so he's going with the king like that. Start pushing that pawn apparently. I see he's cutting off the king. That's a good idea. But wait a little bit here. What if you go here? And go here. Are you supposed to go up? But that doesn't work either. I see, it works. It works because of this. Usually you can't win this kind of position because a king and a pawn here on the 5th cannot escort down the pawn because of this technique. You just check and put it here but now it's a special case because the king is in the corner. So it would have ended like this. I see. So it's easily winning then. And it's the same here. Check here. And it's again the mate. So I see. That's good to know. Good to know. Okay, so because Magnus lost this game, it's now quite an even fight between Magnus and Kramnik, and there are two games left. So Magnus needs to finish strong if he's going to win the tournament.